Now, also last Thursday, even though it hasn't been as heavily covered, something else very major happened. And of course, that was Israel's invasion of Gaza. Now, listen to Obama's statement made last Thursday. Listen to how rich in irony and hypocrisy it is.
We discussed Israel's military operation in Gaza, including its efforts to stop the threat of terrorist infiltration through tunnels into Israel. I reaffirmed my strong support for Israel's right to defend itself. No nation should accept rockets being fired into its borders or terrorists tunneling into its territory.
Now, let me just repeat what he said. He said, of course, he reaffirmed his strong support for Israel's right to defend itself. In other words, by defending its borders. And he went on to say, no nation should accept rockets being fired into its borders or terrorists tunneling into its territory. Well, how does he explain what's happening on the U.S. border? Why do we have to give up our right to self-defense? Why do we have to allow people to tunnel or even just walk across our borders? And of course, it's not just unaccompanied children. These are very dangerous gang members, and of course, any terrorist could come across the border. But he said on Wall Street Journal yesterday, titled, "Tunnels Matter More Than Rockets" to Hamas, they said early in the current clash between Hamas and Israel, much of the drama was in the air, in other words, about the rockets, but the real story has been underground. Hamas's tunnels into Israel are potentially much more dangerous than its random rocket barrages. And they say this indicates that Hamas's tunnels and not the well-publicized episodes of kidnapping and murder are what they're really concerned about. Now, the question is, of course, we have questions as to whether or not these unaccompanied children that are being brought here are being kidnapped. But we also know that very dangerous drug gangs, multinational drug gangs, are free to come across, even using distractions of unaccompanied children to massively move across the border and to move their equipment and other things across the border. We also have this report from a whistleblower who talked directly to Adnan Salazar. He said cartel gunfire forces border agents to run for cover, kind of like firing missiles across a border, isn't it? Customs and Border Protection has yet to brief its agents on the circumstances surrounding a shooting that occurred last week in South Texas, in which federal agents dodged heavy military-grade fire from the Mexican side of the border. An agent has confirmed to InfoWars, an exclusive story. He said the shooting last night is going unreported in our agency and in the media. He said shots were not directed at border agents. Rather, he didn't say that, but the Border Patrol spokesperson said that. However, the local CBS News affiliate doesn't believe that. They have a report from Congressman Louis Gohmert, who was in the area, and he was saying that they were being shot at with 50 caliber bullets. He said bullets ricocheted into an area where Border Patrol agents were positioned. We don't have any armor that can stop a 50 caliber round, so our Border Patrol agents had to take cover when the rounds are ricocheting around them. And that's what Representative Gohmert told Fox News. So let's be clear. We're not asking Obama to defend our borders by firing missiles into Mexico. We're not asking him to invade Mexico. We're just asking him to stop incentivizing an invasion into our country. But of course, they're doing just the opposite. Here's another exclusive report from Adnan Salazar and a source with the Border Patrol agency. He says that they're being ordered to release pregnant illegals. South Texas Customs and Border Protection agents have been ordered to release pregnant illegal immigrants, as well as those who merely claim to be pregnant. This is what the agent told InfoWars. And this, of course, is with any stage of pregnancy. He sent an email and said, "At my muster yesterday, we received orders to begin releasing all pregnant female illegal aliens in the Rio Grande Valley sector. Any stage of pregnancy, whether 2 weeks or 8 months. We do not have a method of testing for an actual pregnancy either, so it appears that we'll just have to take their word for it." So is the Obama administration suddenly turning pro-life? Are they recognizing these as anchor fetuses? You know, we've had anchor babies. Now we move back to what they would call anchor fetuses, because before the child is born, they call them fetus, which is just Latin for baby anyway. But we've also got anchor teens coming in. And the question is, are those teens really unaccompanied minors, or are they helping to traffic, or are they part of a gang members? Nevertheless, it's the policies that are inviting them in. We have open borders. We're not controlling the borders. And unlike Israel, we're not worried about terrorists crossing the borders, but we are worried about them coming in through airports still, of course. Now, this is from the Human Rights Watch and Columbia Law School's Human Rights Institute. Now, this is something, of course, that we've told you many times. We've documented it. So has Judge Andrew Napolitano. What they're saying is, in a 214-page report looking at 27 federal terrorism cases, they say Americans have been told that their government is keeping them safe by preventing and prosecuting terrorism inside the U.S. But if you take a closer look, you realize that many of these people would never have committed a crime if not for law enforcement encouraging, pressuring, sometimes paying them to commit terrorist acts. Now, they focus on the aspect that this is singling out unfairly Muslims, but of course, we are all suffering under the police state that has been created and, of course, justified by these false flag events that are constantly being created and run and organized by the FBI. You know what is happening at the border is exactly the same thing, only on a national scale. Now, we also see, of course, that this is something that's been going on for quite a long time abroad. We see that ISIS domestic terror threat created by the CIA and the U.S. military. This is an article by Kurt Nimmo that came out this weekend. Of course, ISIS and Al-Qaeda are being run and created and enabled by the CIA, just like the FBI runs these terrorist events here in the United States and then shuts them down to justify their existence. The article points out the problem, as they're told by U.S. counterterrorism and intelligence officials, is that there are just so many jihadists with Western passports traveling to fight in Syria that they worry that some of them may slip back into the U.S. without being detected. Why are we worried about that? They can just walk across our wide open borders. Why do they need to come through the airports? And of course, everything that's happening in the airports, they're stepping up security, doing everything they can to tell us that we have to add even more security, even more harassment at the airports, even though they have the borders wide open. And of course, Kurt Nimmo points out in the article that the former head of the American Visa Bureau in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, Michael Springman, told then BBC journalists back in 2001, and that was Greg Palast, and we've had him on a number of times on the Alex Jones Show, that he was repeatedly ordered by high-level State Department officials to issue visas to unqualified applicants who are allowed to enter the United States. And if you want to see the entire interview that Alex Jones had with Michael Springman back in 2010, we have that embedded in the article. He talks about the CIA terrorist visa factory is basically the way it's put out there. And of course, they're handing out visas to these terrorist organizations that they have trained, equipped, financed, and in many cases run their operations. But of course, now they have a much better source, and that is to just open up the entire border, not only to Middle Eastern terrorists, but also to the multinational drug gangs of Central and South America.
This is Alex Jones for InfoWarsLife.com. The latest in preparedness is now here. An electrically stabilized colloidal silver solution that can be added to both your home cabinet and preparedness pack alike. Concentrated to 30 parts per million in what has been dubbed the survival silver solution. The new InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver is the answer for you and your family. And it's entirely free of toxic artificial additives that are loaded into many products. The InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Silver is so powerful that it is concentrated into a 2-ounce bottle and is not recommended for extended continual use. This is not a low-grade formula. We are working with one of the top laboratory manufacturers in the United States to bring you the best form of colloidal silver using electrical processes within a base of deionized water for your preparedness storage. For your home kitchen, purchase your bottle of InfoWarsLife.com Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver today and find other amazing supplements at InfoWarsLife.com.